Recently, we've developed sort of an archery program here. We've done some Boy Scout merit badge classes dealing with archery, and sort of this traditional hunting workshop is an outgrowth of that. We thought, okay, well, we can teach people how to shoot a bow and arrow, but it's really interesting for people to learn how people hunted before bows and arrows. How did they get their food before bows and arrows?
And it's an incredible lesson in seeing the terrain of the preserve through the eyes of both the hunter and the hunted.
You can compare and contrast modern hunting to sort of more prehistoric or ancient hunting. Very similar. Obviously, you're not running around the landscape hoping that the animals, the deer, the bighorn sheep are going to see you. So you would have spots, you would have blinds, you would have sort of hidey holes where you could see the animals and they couldn't see you. You also would have done a lot of stalking. You would have snuck up on the animals, get really close, because the weapons you had weren't long distance, long range weapons. It's not like a high powered rifle where you can be 100 yards away from them and still bag an animal. You'd have to get pretty close, 20, 30 yards at the farthest probably.
Oh, close.
But humans and animals always existed in close proximity to each other and their shared resources.
Because of the springs, because of the water, animals would congregate here. They would probably be on regular sort of migration routes or routes going from spring to spring or water source to water source, just like people. So people would have followed the animals, people would have followed the water as well.
And an incessant ritual of hunting that was essential to survival here.
It was a constant struggle for existence. You were out there daily looking for your food. What were you going to have for lunch? What were you going to have for dinner? And you might be able to collect and save some of that, but most days you were out looking for food. Hunting would have played an important part of that.
With the prey ranging from easy targets to the biggest game.
Smaller game, smaller animals like rabbits would have been very, very important to prehistoric peoples, but also deer. There would have been some deer once you get into sort of the uplands, as well as bighorn sheep were very, very important. So those types of animals were the bigger ones they would have hunted sort of prehistorically around the time of European contact and even into later periods. Going farther back, we know that people were hunting mammoth. People would have been hunting bison antiguus, which was a really big prehistoric buffalo with giant horns. And so those are the animals that would have been really the focus of people before bows and arrows, when people were using spear throwers and those types of things.
The remnants of their advanced weaponry is evident throughout the valley and the preserve.
In other parts of the valley, we found parts of Clovis projectile points, and these are the really big spear points that people would have used to hunt animals like mammoth or bison. Here at the Springs Preserve, we do have several other projectile points that are most likely spear tips, would have been used for spear throwers or atlatls, and those projectile points date to about 3,000 to 5,000 years old. And we have several of those that we've found. And then of course later in time we have other arrowheads, projectile points that are more reminiscent or what we would expect from bows and arrows. They're smaller, they're a little bit sharper, not as much mass to those. So we have those all over property here.
Where we're now bringing these artifacts back to life again for sportsmen and historians and any interested visitors who want to experience the original hunting grounds of the preserve in a simulated but very realistic search for food.
We teach people how to throw a spear and learn about that. Then we show them how to use a spear thrower and show the ease as you develop that technology, how much easier it becomes to hunt your food. And then we teach them how to use a bow and arrow. And then we have some 3D targets out in our property, and we go on a sort of a virtual hunt and let them hunt for their dinner.